Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And we get to have an adventure all by itself today because today is April 1st, which is April Fool's Day. But we're not going to fool you today because the two guests that I have today are really important astrologers, and they're coming to us once a month on the first of the month, and they're going to tell us what the hell's going to happen the next month. We can hardly wait till November gets here. I'm looking forward to them telling us what's going to happen in November.
Right. There's stuff. We already have looked. There's stuff happening in the sky.
Oh, goody. That's all we need. But Christina Jenkins is here, and April Millar, and they're tag team astrologers. Which, if you were to describe yourselves, how would you do that? Because you work as a team, right?
Yeah, we're Star Soul sisters, and we work as a team.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How did you become Star Soul sisters?
Well, this is actually a really awesome story. So we were in an international astrology class. So people from all over the world in this class. And some of the things that April was saying were really resonating with me, especially about some of the things that she was doing before she was an astrologer. So I reached out and I said, hey, do you want to do a virtual coffee time together? And she said, sure. So I went and requested her to be a friend on Facebook so we could communicate that way, and noticed that we had a lot of mutual friends. And they were all from one area of the world, which happens to be where we live. And I said, do you live in Nampa, Idaho? And she said, yes, I do. And I said, anyways, long story short, we live a mile away from each other.
In Idaho?
In Nampa, Idaho.
I don't know where Nampa, Idaho is.
Exactly.
Nobody does.
Now, I was born in Idaho Falls. Where is that in relationship to there?
We're outside of Boise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I moved out of Idaho Falls when I was 3 months old, so I don't remember it. But you guys, so was that kind of like divine something or other that you guys were so close together, and you didn't even have to have virtual coffee anymore. You could go and have lunch together.
We did. That's exactly what happened. We went and spent 2 hours together, and it was so wonderful to be able to communicate with one another in a language that we each speak and didn't have to interpret, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
You know how that is, right? And so it felt so easeful. And then we just became really good friends. And then within probably 6 or 7 months, we were like, hey, we should do something. Like, we should partner up and do something on something. We didn't even know what it was, but something. And it just has evolved since then.
Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
It's been
so
wonderful.
Easy and so beautiful, just aligned.
Exactly. And I think the key to it is if it's easy and it just shows up. Yeah. It's not hard. You don't have to. It's not like you're in the coal mine and you're working and slaving away and it's hard and it's achy. It just sort of shows up and happens.
Yeah.
And then you guys are now working together, and you're helping the planet.
Thank you.
That's exactly what we desire. Yes.
How cool is that?
It's really a fun story to tell, and it just confirms the divine timing and plan of what we're doing here.
Yeah. When you follow the breadcrumbs of your life, you actually have no idea how it's going to unfold. Because when I met Christina, that was a time in my life where the message kept coming up for me to surrender, to stop trying to control my life. And it was really fascinating because I was like, okay, fine. I will let go. And it was when things were coming into people were coming into my life, and I didn't know that they were going to play a big part in my life but they ended up doing that.
Well, you never know. You never know. And that's what I call the 50,000 foot view, which means that we don't get that. We are in the forest and we get to see the tree in front of us and the tree behind us. So we know where we've been and we know where we think we're going, but we can't tell. So we have to trust that where we're going is where the divine is telling us to go. If we ask them, if we say, lead me, tell me what to do, and I'll do what I'll go along. And then they kind of guide us.
Yeah.
And the right people come into our lives. The right people go out of our lives. It's really is a unique experience, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. And I think also that sometimes there's an element of patience that goes along with it. Because when I met April, I was at a place where I was really trying to figure out, of all these things that I was doing, where was the direction that I was headed. So I had all these puzzle pieces on the table and a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, but feeling very scattered. And April and our work together started to bring in more of this focus into our particular business. And but there was an element of patience, because I'd been waiting for the right partnership to come on for a long time. And I had kissed a lot of frogs in my entrepreneurial journey trying to find the right partner, let me tell you. And when she showed up, she showed up. And here we are.
Isn't it nice that she didn't call you a frog?
I know that. Am I a princess?
Well, don't you self-identify as a troll?
Oh, that's true. I do kind of feel like I have this like sturdy, like stable energy. So
It's so beautiful.
I feel a little trollish sometimes.
Now, as you developed your partnership, did you kind of come to terms with the fact that like Christina's strengths might be April's weaknesses, and that you could blend them together to really become one? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And actually, we were talking about that this morning, and how we're two astrologers, right? So it would make sense to be like, why would we work together if we have the same area that we are experts in? But we're not, because astrology is a lifelong lesson. And I actually really love parenting astrology, and Christina loves business astrology. So there's like, I know that I could do a business reading and I would like it, but at the same time, Christina has the passion around it. So you would get a much different reading from Christina than you would from me in that regard. So yes, it's so synergetic in how there's enough work for everyone. There's enough interest. It just works out so beautifully.
Well, it's really cool. I had the opportunity to interview Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. And one of the things that he is firm on is that you just have to trust, let it go, and it'll be fine. And that's what you guys have done when you're working together and getting together. And look at you now. You're on the radio, and we are going to tell everybody what's going to happen in April, which I suspect is going to be different than what we discussed in March, because in March you said, no, a lot going on in March, but wait till April gets here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here we are.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say this. I'm looking forward to this. This will be fun.
It will be fun. I'm so excited. There's so much gonna happen, like that big energies happening in April. And so the best part about it is that we get to understand what's coming, and then we get to knowingly decide how we're going to engage with it, how we're going to create with it. So
yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Go ahead, Christina.
I think that's really the power of astrology. And we touched on this last month too, but you have information, so you are able to respond in a more conscious way than simply reacting to whatever's coming at you. And that's what April and I both just love about astrology, is it opens up choice points. and actually gives you more directed choices than the scattered energy that you're just, putting out the fire in front of you.
You said one of the coolest key things in as far as the English language that I'm the difference between responding and reacting. There's a big difference there, isn't there?
Huge. And we want to help people respond to the cosmic energies in consciousness rather than react to the cosmic energies, which are going to impact you whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. They're impacting you. So if you know it, you can respond instead of just reacting.
So, for those that are in the audience that have no earthly idea what an astrologer does, can we go through that real quick again so that we can tell people what it is, and so that they can perhaps go find somebody then, or to learn their own, or to take classes, or to do something with it. So, who'd like to go first with that?
Yeah. Well, I will just give you an understanding of like why it does what it does. So astrology is the study of the cosmic energy. And so astronomy is the study of planets. Well, the astrology is the study of the energy. So it's kind of like astronomy is the anatomy and astrology is the physiology. So it's like how it works. So astrology so really what kind of comes down to is there's this magnetic pull between us and the planets. That's in its most basic form. The planets are magnetic, we are magnetic. And so the planets use their magnet aspect to kind of move us around. Now, if we become aware of what the planets are doing, we can decide if we want to be flipped or like either pushed or pulled kind of thing. So we get to decide how we want to respond to the cosmic energy, the cosmic magnetic energy. Did I make that more confusing or how did that go?
Well, I get it, but I don't know. Um, I did want to ask you though, how does your birthday play into this? And the day that you were born, was that a cosmic thing that was all set up ahead of time because of the energies that were out there and the configurations that it was? So that was going to be part of your DNA or so? Who'd like to tackle that one?
Yeah.
I'd be glad to. I absolutely. Well, let me answer the first question. Your birthday is a photograph of the cosmic river at the moment you were born. Okay, so birthplace, birth time, birthday, all of those things come together. And then that cosmic river, as it's flowing through all those rocks out there, we take a snapshot. We know that the river keeps on going, but that snapshot is the blueprint or the imprint for you. Do I believe that it was aligned before, that maybe we chose it or that it was planned? 100%. And just a quick story about my birth. You know how when women get together and they talk about their birth stories? Well, my mom's birth story with me, hands down, worst one I've ever heard. I've had 4 of my own kids, like the worst story. So my chart, I was born at 0 degrees, 20 minutes, Scorpio. That's my moon. And my sun is at 0 degrees, 5 minutes, Cancer. It was almost like everything that my mom was going through the whole day before, I was waiting until 5 minutes of Cancer to come into this world. And we see this when we look at people's charts, how this blueprint of their life has shown up. Even when they're, 80 years old and they're getting their first reading, they can see how this blueprint has laid out once we show them how that works. And even the people that they've met, because of their natural gifts and talents or emotional needs for a certain thing, it all plays together. Just like April and me living a mile away from each other in this huge, big world was a soul contract, an act that was put into place before we came into this incarnation.
And by the way, did your mother ever forgive you for waiting?
Well, she has, and she's still got the worst birth story of all time.
It's bad.
We're both now. I don't want to diminish the one of the worst birth stories of all time where both mom and baby lived, because I do not want to diminish the fact that sometimes terrible birth stories do not end with both of the beings living. And so I want to be very clear, and I don't want to diminish the fact that childbirth is still a very dangerous time for a woman to go into, and a baby for that matter.
You know, I've had a couple of kids. Well, no, let me put it another way. My wife has had a couple of kids.
Thank
I
you.
didn't have any. Um, my part was done long ago in a distant memory. Anyway, um, but I remember when she was 9 months pregnant, and it was like, holy crap, that has to hurt. I cannot believe what the female body is capable of as far as getting ready. So if you're a guy out there and you haven't seen somebody that you dearly love that is 9 months pregnant and is uncomfortable and stuff, it's an amazing experience. And so for you to say, nope, not time yet. I'm going to
Yeah.
be here for another hour or another 2 or 5 or whatever it was. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually, can I speak to that a little bit too? Because, I mean, I was a birth doula for 10 years before becoming an astrologer, and I and that, like, even planned C-sections, I truly believe every person is born at the exact minute that they were supposed to be, or that they are born at, to use that energy that their natal chart is, that snapshot of the sky, for the rest of their life. And so, yes, even the planned ones, very much so, are exactly right.
I believe that everything that we do is planned by contract, by our desires, by what we try and get done, and people come into our life and do something that causes us to do something, and that takes us to the place we want to go, and then they go away. And then somebody else comes in. I've had that happen like 4 times
Yeah.
where somebody came into my life, they said, let's go do this. We did it, they left. Then I stayed with it. And that's how I got into radio. That's how I met my wife. It's all of that is planned, I think, before we even get here. And so it starts with your birth chart and your beginning natal chart, because that is the starting line, isn't it, for this timeline?
Yes.
Yeah, for your specific timeline, yes. That is well, and human design, Dana does human design, and human design actually takes your astrology from 3 months before you were born. So there's elements to consciousness before birth too. So
And
it's
she tells me that in the chart that she did for me, that everything that I am doing is by it was predestined.
I love it. I love it.
And that is so, and in my mind that is so cool, because and it's all worked out that way. And
Mhm.
when you put together a chart for somebody, do they have like that jaw dropping moment when they say, how did you know that? How did you know that? How could
Every
that
single
be?
time. I
That
don't know
must be
about you,
so
April,
fun.
but for me, that's
Yeah.
one of the most satisfying parts of doing a reading, is when they go, what? How did you know?
Yeah.
And you know every time.
Well, and the best part is looking at a person's chart, there's so much compassion that comes with it, because it's like, "Oh, I see you." Like, and because we all put up masks, we all put up a facade, and so it's kind of hard sometimes to get through those masks, if especially if somebody's not wanting you to. But really, when you look at a chart, you can see like that person, and everything that they have gone through and been through, and so much compassion comes with that. I will say I very rarely judge anyone based on their chart. It's more just like, oh, okay, let's work with this.
Have you ever done a chart and thought to yourself, this guy's going to be an axe murderer?
Not yet.
I have seen some charts where I go, oh, wow, you didn't pick an easy one. But, when April was talking about that compassion that we feel when we see the chart, that's one of our gifts that we give to people that we read charts for, and that is self-compassion. Because we're all we get in the loop of self-judgment, of self-criticism, of like that is part of the human experience. And shows like Positive Talk Radio and the work that we do, like our mission is to help people see the positive, to come out of that murky mire that sometimes is what life can feel like. That self-compassion is such a gift. It's such a gift.
And it seems to me that if somebody comes to you and you present yourself the way that you two do, full of compassion and caring and love for the individual, and you're working to help them through and to understand the things that are presented in their charts that they may have created before they were even born, but at least they get the understanding. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and actually there's some validation there. I remember when I got my chart read for the first time, and there was aspects of it, of the astrologer saying, "Okay, I'm seeing this and this and this." And me feeling like, "Oh my gosh, I have resisted that so much in my life because I didn't think that that was good, or I had judgments around it." And so I then was able to embrace it and validate, like, okay, no, that's part of me, and that's okay. So
Mhm.
it's been really great.
I
That
love
is
that.
just awesome.
I
By
was
by the
just
way,
going to
we're
say
talking with Chris. Oh, go ahead, Christina.
the hidden gifts. It's sometimes those hidden gifts, because when we talk about gifts and talents, sometimes we think about being a great speaker or musician or sports player. And there's some of those softer skill gifts that get overlooked. And to be able to acknowledge that in yourself through the affirmation from somebody who's reading your birth chart is really a life-changing experience.
Because we are all very special, each and every one of us in our own way.
Mhm.
For sure.
Christina Jenkins and April Millar. We need to take a quick break, just 30 seconds. Be real quick. Don't worry about it. And we'll be right back. Then we're going to concentrate a little bit and do the reading for all of us for April in a little bit later on. So stay with us. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We'll be right back.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And see, that didn't take very long. That's Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And we've got a couple of great astrologers here. They work together. They tag team. They can do it independently. They do the whole thing for you. One concentrates more on the business side, one on the family side, which, by the way, creates balance. Because you've got both that you have to work with and deal with. So, and by the way, next time for April and no, for May, when you come here, I'll give you my information beforehand so that you can do my chart. So, and I will be more than happy to appear in my underwear for everybody.
Oh, I'm so excited for the chart part.
I'm not sure anybody wants to see me in my underwear, and what I mean by that is I'm prepared to open myself up for what you like when you say, "Oh my."
Yeah.
Of course, years ago, that's I have a weird sense of humor, just so you know. And years ago, I had a vasectomy, and I was having. They were in the middle of doing that procedure, and the guy who was doing it said, "Oh no, crap!" And I said to him at that moment, I said, I don't know that is the best time for you to be saying that to me when you anyway. So, but I will be happy to open myself up so that people can see. Number one, it ain't scary. It's not of the devil.
Yeah.
It's not of a bad thing. It's actually based in science, and it's very good. And it can give you insight into your behavior, and so that and April, didn't you find that when you had your reading done that you said to yourself, "Oh, that's why I do that."
Yeah, and there was parts of myself that I was really resistant to, and then or I was resisting because I judged and thought that they weren't me. But then when I kind of like embraced them, they've been such gifts. And part of that is like honestly showing up in a spotlight type of way that we can see that in my chart. And I was super resistant to that because I thought like, oh, that is prideful. That is like, how dare I want to be in front of people and in the spotlight and all of the things. And then it was like, oh no, you've got a lot of this energy, just do it. And so when I embraced it, it's been like, it has felt like coming home actually. So
Well, you spend a lot of time denying who you really are,
yeah, exactly.
and now
Exactly.
you're embracing who you really are.
Yes, and speaking of me being April, like April is the month of April. I just like we need to talk about this month because it's going to be so fun. We
Well,
are actually smack dab in the middle um of eclipse season. We had the full moon eclipse on March 25th, yeah, 25th. And the
today's
next
yeah,
eclipse
on the
happens
25th, yeah.
on the 25th, and then the next eclipse happens on April 8th. So you're feeling it. If you're listening to it at this point, you are feeling it, and I'd be interested to know how you're feeling it. And is it reminiscent of things that were happening 6 months ago in October?
So what if you when you say, "Are you feeling it?" What should what how do they know if they're feeling it or not?
That is a really good question. And I would say, Christine, I'd love to hear what you have to say, but definitely like extra emotional. Um, this is a relationship axes eclipse. So there's definitely elements of how are you engaging and interacting with the people in your life, your partner, like one-on-one friendships, business partners, like like how are people showing up in your life and what is being brought to the surface, what are you being uncomfortable with. In fact, one of yeah, like how are you being challenged kind of in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Christina, thoughts?
Yeah, so April mentioned the relationship axis. So I'm just going to talk just for a second. There's Aries and Libra. Okay, those two zodiacs are the relationship axis. And Aries is about I am, it's the me. Libra is the we, it's about the partnerships. So this is committed romantic partnerships, it's business partnerships, it's people that you have dedicated and committed a chunk of your life and energy to whatever project that is, a family, a business. And so within that, there's the me and there's the we. And how do those two interact? So these sister eclipses, the one that happened in March and then the one that's happening next week on April 8th, these are sister eclipses. Eclipses always come in at least two, a solar and a lunar, and they're really playing within that axis. And so some questions for people would be, how are you showing up in your relationships? Are you in people-pleasing patterns, codependency patterns? Are you bending over backwards to keep the peace? Where are you not using your voice? Or are you showing up really selfishly in your relationships and it's all about me? So, these are very general questions, but really letting the stars illuminate how you're showing up in relationships and what relationships are being attracted to you. Are these relationships of power dynamics? Are these relationships of equality? What's showing up?
When you are doing the charts, is there an energy component to that as far as if you're raising your vibration or raising your energy, different people are going to show up for you? Does that come into
Oh, yeah.
play when you're reading the chart?
100%.
Oh,
And actually there's an element of, especially eclipse energy, because it's so intense. There's if you are in the process of raising your vibration, if there's aspects of you that are not at that vibration, those will probably come to the surface to be released. Does that make sense? Where there's, so if it's like your relationship to a specific person, or if there's any energetic ties there that are vibrating at a lower frequency, they will come to the surface so that they can be let go of.
And that can be kind of a messy process, can't it?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be, but again, this is about consciousness. So then you get to choose.
Yeah.
So it can be empowering.
Oh yeah. Especially if you approach any of this like, oh, this is happening for me. This is happening for me. So I cannot have to be anchored in this lower vibration. I can continue to ascend.
So it's a matter of perspective.
Absolutely.
If you go ahead.
One of the things that may have come up and that I had several conversations with people about, and full vulnerability that I felt coming up a little bit over the weekend, were feelings of insecurity or not enoughness. I was in a situation with a lot of people that are in this spiritual realm. And, those old patterns of, oh, you don't know as much as they do. Oh, they're better at this than you, started coming up. But again, because of perspective, because of the work that I've been able to do, I just want to say it's okay if it comes up. It's what you do with it. Because here's the thing. Everybody judges. We judge ourselves. We judge others. It's what you do with the judgment. It's human to judge. It's evolved to make a different choice about what you do with that. So self-judgment for me came up. And for the most part, besides shedding a few tears as those things were releasing out of me, just being aware, oh, look, yeah, there's little Christina that didn't feel like she was smart enough. Little Christina that, got an F on that paper or got teased for coming up with a zany idea. There's little Christina who doesn't feel like she's enough. And now I can make different choices. Thank you, eclipse season, for shedding the light on this.
And you can come out on the other side better for it.
Absolutely.
By the way, we're talking with April and Christina. We need to take our station break, and we'll be right back in just a minute. So stay with us, and then we're going to get into more specifics for April as far as astrological reading of where are we all going in this world and stuff. So I don't know what I'm saying. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. These PSAs that I run, I really love them because that one was really heartfelt, and I can feel it. I can feel the energy from it when we play it, because 4.2 million kids are either homeless or trafficked. That in the United States of America, by the way, that is a crime. We should not allow that. And I'm hopeful that through the work that people like you do, and you can shine the light on all of us of how we could be if we were to succumb to our highest angels rather than our lowest common denominator. I
Mm.
think that we would be much better off. Is that kind of the motivation behind being an astrologer and doing what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of big picture ability to kind of chunk up to, because sometimes I think we get really in the minutia of like every day and it gets intense. It can get really intense. And so being an astrologer really does kind of give you that overarching visual of like, okay, it's gonna be okay.
It helps you get through. Oh, this is I'm told that this is a very dense planet, and it's very heavy, and it's hard for us to get through stuff. And part of that's by design, I think, and part of it's just the way it is. But if you are taking the time to have the power, and what you guys do is provide people with the ability to have that power so that they understand, so that when you are not enough, or when it's your mother that voice is coming in like your mother from 40 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it was, that you're not enough, you're never going to be anything or whatever, you can get through that because you can recognize that that's really not the truth. Is that true?
That's perfect. Yeah. No, it's very true. And yeah, just yeah, I think you said it really well.
Gee whiz. Thanks.
Okay.
So, kids, what's going to happen in April? And I know we're going to have an eclipse on the 8th. What else is going to happen to us, with us, because of us, or something?
Well, today, April 1st, Mercury goes retrograde. And I love to talk about retrograde planets. So
Would
first
you please? Because let me explain. Because every time Mercury goes retrograde, people say your electronic devices are going to stop working. You're going to have problems with this. There's going to be problems, and so we tend to blame that. So, oh, it's Mercury's gone retrograde again. That's why my computer buzzed out or whatever. So, is that true?
So things can, be a little wonky during Mercury retrograde. The energy does feel different, although Mercury spends about 25% of its orbit in retrograde because it's very close to the sun. So let me explain what a retrograde planet is, because this
Please.
is something that people are like, is that even real? Planets don't go backwards. You're right. Planets don't go backwards. But it is an optical illusion that is recognized in astronomy and has been recognized for millennia as, it's like when you're standing in the center of a racetrack and the runners are going, but there comes a point when the runners are close to each other and one's about to overtake the other. Or here's a better example. You're driving down the road and it feels like, am I moving backwards, or is that car moving backwards because of the speed? So it's an optical illusion. If we lived on Venus, Earth would go retrograde.
Okay.
Because it's an optical illusion from where you're standing. Now, the moon doesn't go retrograde because the moon moves around the Earth. The Earth doesn't go retrograde because that's our viewpoint, this geocentric standpoint of being on the Earth. And the sun doesn't go retrograde because we're moving around it. But all the other planets at some point in their orbit appear to go backwards, because in Mercury's case or Venus's case, it's either going faster than the Earth, or in the other planets' case, the Earth is going faster than them. So I just want to reiterate, the planets aren't moving backwards.
If they're being overtaken by another planet.
You're going to need to say that one more time because you went fuzzy.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's we're in retrograde.
Mercury retrograde.
So is it kind of like a sports car that's got a hubcap, and you know that the wheel is moving forward, but it looks like the hubcap is going in the reverse direction.
Thank you. That's my new favorite analogy.
Good.
That's exactly it.
Yes. So
it's all an optical illusion, but it's a real thing, but it's not a real thing.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about we always hear about Mercury in retrograde. Well, all of the planets actually go retrograde. We just feel Mercury the most and the strongest because if you going back to cars, if depending on how fast you go, and Mercury's the fastest moving planet, when you're going fast and you stomp on those brakes, you feel it a little more intense. So that's why we feel Mercury going retrograde and then therefore direct again a little bit more, because it's like that kid who's starting to learn how to drive a car and is like really hitting the brakes and you're just jerking back and forth. So that's kind of the energy that we all kind of feel around a Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, I remember those days when my wife was driving and my son, and she did that. My son would throw up. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it can be very uncomfortable. But the cool thing about it is it doesn't, yes, it can like mess up communication and kind of put some energetic frustration around technology because again, it's kind of that like abrupt energy. However, it's more aligned with slowing down and rethinking things through and like all the re's. So it's like take some time to rest, rethink, realign, like anything you can put re in front of, it's kind of that redo energy of like, okay, how do I want to play this out again? Or what do I want to like kind of have a do-over with?
And you said that it is it's in retrograde about 20%. How often or how many times in the year does it? Because I hear this a lot that it gets, oh no, we're going retrograde again. So how often, how many episodes of that do we have in a year?
3 or 4 a year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long do they last?
It really depends, but this particular one lasts through April 25th, and it's a little bit of a short one. Sometimes they can be up to like 5 weeks and as short as 3 weeks.
So
Yeah.
this is going to last a whole month then, basically.
Yeah.
Happy April.
Which means what? For those that are out there going, okay, what's going to happen in April? It's not the world's not going to end or anything like that, right?
No.
It could, but that's not what we're predicting. We're not predicting that. I want to be very clear. That is not our astrological prediction. But I think it actually is really good for us. It's a choice point. We can go, oh my gosh, it's Mercury retrograde. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to hate it. It's going to be what, or we could go, maybe if I sit and relax and rethink, especially with all the other energies we have going on in April, we can actually better respond to some of these very shocking energies that could come up in April because we've chosen to rest and respond as opposed to, react. And I can't think of another great word for it, but you know what I'm talking about.
And kind of be jerked around, honestly. Like, so we get to decide. And just like I feel like so much of the messages that you get into with Positive Talk Radio is like, are you allowing fear to rule your life, or are you allowing like joy and light to rule your life? Like where are you responding from? And so there can be a lot of messages out there that it's like, oh no, especially with all of the things. I mean, honestly, Kevin, April tells a story. The month of April tells a story from the beginning through the end. And I swear to you, it is working for you. And so if you decide that it is working for you, you have the ability to quantum leap some things in your life if you so desire. So we can get into that, but definitely, or you can allow it to be acted upon. You can either decide to act with it or be acted upon. So
you can be, what is it? Forewarned is forearmed kind of thing, that you have a good idea of what potentially is out there so that you can, aha, there it comes. I see it. I'm going to avoid that. Is that accurate?
So if we set the intention right now during the next 25 days of the Mercury retrograde, setting the intention to rethink things before I push send on that email that's a little bit snarky, maybe let me rethink that. Before I say this thing that I'm reacting to, let me stop and slow down and reassess the situation. That thing that happened a while ago, maybe back in October when we were in the other eclipse season, maybe it's time to reframe that.
So it's important for you to. That's why your work is so important, because, like I said, forewarned is forearmed, and you can. And if you know who you, how you are, if you know what triggers you, and I assume that you can help people in the work that you do, help people know what triggers them so that they can avoid those triggers and to get through them and pass them because they don't serve anybody.
You got it.
Yeah. And your wounding. We can see your wounding in your chart. How about that?
You know what I love about you two is that you both have got a look of, when you're talking about charts, first of all, you're very passionate about what you do, but you're also talk about it from a point of compassion for the individual. And so that when you're doing somebody's chart, you can honestly look at them and understand where they're coming from and the pain that they've endured and the things. And it's not like you can read the future. It's not like you're going to say, oh boy, next week you're going to have a doozy. But well, wait a minute, I better ask that question because but let me take April just jumped out of her seat, so I'm going to need to take this break real quick, and then she's going to answer that question. Can you kind of tell us what's going to happen to us in the future a little bit? So we'll be right back. We're talking with Christina Jenkins and April Millar, and this is Positive Talk.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
And welcome back. We were gone so long. I know you forgot the question I was going to ask, but I'll ask it again anyway. I'm sorry. I can't help myself sometimes. April, when I said you can't tell the future and you jumped out of your chair, why'd you jump out of your chair?
Because actually we can see a lot. We can see a lot. The nice thing is, though, is you still have agency. So we can tell you what we're seeing and how it might play out, but you still have your agency. So you get to decide actually how you're going to work with that energy. And so can we tell the future? A little bit. Yeah, kind of. Can we predict exactly how it's going to play out? No, definitely not. However, we can help, just like you said, when you have the forewarning, you have the ability to arm yourself or to decide intentionally what you want to experience.
Okay, so for those of us who have no earthly idea what agency means, what does agency mean?
Your free will. You still have the opportunity to choose for yourself how you're going to show up, we're in a planet of polarity. The earth plane is a planet of polarity. There is good and evil, light and dark, like all of the things, right? It's this polarity aspect of things. Well, we, like everything, like every sign on the chart, so every zodiac sign, every planet, everything has a polarity to it, a light aspect and a shadow aspect. So even though it's like, okay, Kevin, when were you born? What is your sign?
I'm a Virgo, 9/11/57.
Oh, okay. So here, that you're a Virgo. Well, Virgo has light attributes and it has shadow attributes. So you get to choose how you're actually going to engage with that energy, in the light or in the shadow. So
I don't like the shadows. I get scared in the shadows. So I prefer the light. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Okay. Before we go, and I got to ask both of you. Okay, Christina, you first. We're gonna make it through April. Is everything gonna be okay?
100%. And if we've got to go, can I just share 2 other dates that are really important?
We got to 9 minutes, so we're good. So go ahead.
So one of the big, we have 2 really big astrological things happening this month. One is the total solar eclipse that goes through the United States of America on the 8th. We talked about that quite a bit earlier, but what we haven't talked about is there's 2 planets, Jupiter and Uranus, whatever you want to call that other planet. There's all sorts of different names, but those 2 planets, Jupiter and Uranus, meet together in the sky. This only happens every 13 years on April 20th, 420. Remember that. That is a big day. It's Quantum Leaps Day. It is the day. Please set your intentions now and write them down. What do you want to quantum leap in your life? And if financial abundance and prosperity are something that is on your radar, and I know it's on many people's radars, because this happens in the sign of Taurus, which is one of the prosperity signs, that would be a great intention to quantum leap during that particular day. So it's a big deal day.
And what day is that again?
420, April 20th.
Okay. So we've got the 20th, the 25th, the 8th. Those are all big days in the month.
And then there's the full moon on the 23rd. April, will you tell us about the full moon on the 23rd?
Yes. Yeah. So the cool thing about the story that's going through with all of the astrological events throughout April is that we have, this April 1st today that we start with the retrograde. And then next week we get into the eclipse, the second eclipse of the season where it is actually bringing up the energy of healing wounds that have been brought up. And then as we go through, then on April 20th, we have this quantum leap energy of like, okay, what in our life are we ready to project ourselves towards? Where do we want to go? And what we feel like is farther down the road than we want it to be. And how can we what is it that we want to bring to us right now? And then that's 420. And then on 423, we've got this full moon in Scorpio, and Scorpio rules all of the elimination organs. So there's this cleanup energy that's coming through with this full moon. That's like, okay, everything that we went through for the last 3-4 weeks, it's time to just we're going to shed that off. We're going to take that cold shower and we're going to clean it all off. And then on the 25th, Mercury goes back direct, and it's like, okay, I'm ready, and we're off. So it's kind of fun.
Exactly. So it's the 20th that Jupiter and Uranus, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, by the way, I'm going to start a movement. I want to change that name to Jupiter and your butt.
I mean, we could. I actually want to name that planet Prometheus. Me and a very small handful of other astrologers, and it's never going to happen. But yes.
Don't you think your butt would be better than Uranus? I
don't just call it that on this show? Every time we talk about Uranus, we'll actually just say your butt.
Perfect. I'm not quite so sure how that will be perceived, but that's, what do you do? I'm sorry. I told you I have a real weird sense of humor. So,
okay.
But by the way, I really enjoy having you guys here, and you're going to be here in the 1st of May, or the first week of May, whatever that Monday is. Yeah. And we're gonna do this for the entire year, and I really thank you for being here. And I want to give you both the opportunity to talk about your websites, how they can get a hold of you, and all of that. So let's start with Christina.
Okay, so the easiest way to get in touch with me is workwiththemoon.com. And that is a subscription service that we have for every new and full moon. You get a workbook like this with some of the questions that we've asked and guidance. This is just, there's so much guidance in this. This is a really easy way to play. And that's at workwiththemoon.com. From that website, you can also look at our events and even book a session. So that is the best way to reach me, is at workwiththemoon.com or darkmoongoddess.com.
Very good. And April?
Yes. So Christina and I both do workwiththemoon.com. So it really is such a great way to, especially if you're wanting to kind of wake up to the energy of the cosmos and how it's affecting you. Perfect way. We really do the work for you. All you have to do is download the workbooks, and then we remind you, hey, it's the new moon, get your workbook out and work with it, or the full moon. And so you get 2 workbooks a month with that subscription. But just what Christina, the other place that you can find us at where we actually do coaching is our community, Divine Design Prosperity Community. And that's at divinedesignprosperity.com. And we do, so where Christina was bringing up, like, what if you're wanting to quantum leap, like prosperity and abundance and money things, come with us there, because we do a lot of healing of the inner scarcity.
And if you don't believe that I talked to Neil Donald Walsh just the other day, and he also says, if you don't believe that you can't have something, guess what? You can't have something. So if you believe that you can do something, I had a real quick story before we go. I was in a network marketing company years ago, and there were 5 of us, and we had a coach, and the coach was saying to us, you got to go do this, and you got to go do this, and you got to go do this. And so all of us said, this is hard. I don't know that I can do this. This is terribly hard. I don't know. And I can't. And so one of the gals came one day and said, you know what? I've decided this is easy. I can do this. I can make this work. And it's easy. And I'm loving it. And I'm having a good time. And the 4 of us looked at each other and said, we think you're high. And so we decided that we continued that we couldn't make it work, and we couldn't do it. So 4 of us dropped out. She is now a multimillionaire in the company.
Wow.
Because she made that fundamental shift.
Yeah.
This is easy. I love it, and I can do it. And sometimes it takes someone like an astrologer, a coach, to be able to sit you down and to tell you the facts of life, which are that, yes, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You can do anything that you want to do. You just have to believe it, own it, trust it, and work your ass off for it. At least that's my opinion. What do you guys think?
I love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful combination. And I think sometimes we get a little too into the doership and forget the being. And we talked about that on a different episode, but yes, there's proponents of all of those. And I think that you've nailed it.
And I asked Neil Donald Walsh about that, because he originally came up with a be, do, have, rather than the do, have, be. It's be, do, have. And so go to positivetalk.net, and you can find that episode. It's a great episode. Ladies, I want to thank you for being here. Anything before we go? Are we good?
Yeah. We love you, and April will end. So just like you're good. If it's a rough one for you, it will end. So
and I want to thank you both for being here. It's been great fun.
It's always.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.